I've sold over 120,000 copies of two different series. They're both detectives and they're both set in Glasgow, but one's a private detective and the other's a police procedural style book. The first book is called The Reluctant Detective. It's the story of an insurance investigator who is asked to investigate a murder and becomes a private detective as a result. And it came about because the idea had been rattling around my head for a long, long time, and we lost our son to meningitis, and the decision came that life was too short to keep putting it off. So I wrote the book, managed to finish it, and then decided to self-publish it. One of the things that attracts people is that the original detective is very different from the traditional hard-bitten alcoholic, cynic. He's young, he rides a Ducati motorbike, and he has a kind of naivety, I suppose, that you don't get with most detectives. So I think that appealed to a lot of people. I've had a lot of what we call my senior ladies. There's a lot of older women who seem to quite like him just because they can mother him. They feel as if they can mother him because he's very nice to his mum. He lost his dad, so his mum's very important in his life. And during the process of the books, he gets romantically involved as well. So I think that's something that's a wee bit different maybe from the standard detective who nearly always is on his own. The first series is Craig Campbell, that's the private detective, and you see him develop over the books, and he does become slightly more cynical, I suppose, over the books. But I came up with an idea for a serial killer story, and you couldn't really do that with a private detective. So what I decided to do was spin off, in the Craig Campbell books, his friend, his ex-girlfriend in fact, is a cop, and so she becomes the feature of the second series. So she's, I don't know if it's ever been done within books, but there's a spin-off series. The book's called Soul Seeker, and the premise is it's a gentleman who's helped his mother to die because she was suffering badly from Alzheimer's to the point that she no longer knew him or knew where she was. And over time, this starts to play on him, and he begins to wonder, because he actually killed her, does that mean that her soul where did her soul go? So he starts to look for the human soul, and he decides the only way to do that is to watch people die. So he starts to kill people in a variety of ways, and always at the end, after killing them, he then sets them alight in this look for where is the human soul and where is the source of the human soul. So. I think that Glasgow itself suggests a certain darkness, and surprisingly enough, Glasgow has not suffered from serial killers very often. So it was to have a serial killer story set in Glasgow gave you all kinds of opportunities to go become quite dark and gothic with it. So it was good fun. I think they appeal to so many people because they're easy to read. There's nothing literary. There's no literary pretense in the book. It is entirely about telling the story and hopefully engaging with the characters, and I think that's a big part of it. And Glasgow itself is a big part of it. The city is one of the characters of the books, and I think a lot of people relate to, because they know places and they can they connect with the city and places they know in the city. Characters almost always come from something you see or something you hear. A character in the first book was based on a lady that I used to work with. There's a character in the second book was a man sitting opposite me on the subway, and just something about, he had tattoos and he was a Sikh, and it just looked very, like band tattoos. So it looked very strange, and I thought, that's an interesting idea. So I spun that off, and that's where it comes from. A lot of the time it's actually seeing people and something sparks it in you. In theory, I write a plan, but the plan goes out the window very quickly. So a lot of the time it feels as if somebody else is writing the book, particularly with the very first book. there was a character that I'd already decided it was going to be a series of books, and there was a character I thought would be a feature. And I sat down one day and I wrote 3,000 words and I'd killed her off. And I thought, who did that? That wasn't me. But as it turned out, it was really important to the story, and it helped pull Craig into the story much more. So it was a very interesting experience, that out-of-body experience writing. I think when you write a series of books, the characters become almost friends in some ways. When you're reading it, you get to know them, you get to see their problems, because obviously you've got to write beyond just the pure story of the crime. You have to look at what's happening in their own lives. So Alex Menzies, for example, in the first of the Russell and Menzies series, discovers her fiancé in bed with another woman. So that begins a plot that's continuing even at the book I'm writing on at the moment. So, which will be book number 8 in total, and the 4th in the Russell and Menzies series. What's coming next is a book in the Russell and Menzies series called Grave Consequences, which starts with a body in the Glasgow necropolis laid out on top of a grave, dressed in a wedding dress. But that's as far as the spoiler goes.